Since you hit play on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast today, I want to make sure that you know that our free self-love challenge is happening in February 2024 right here on the podcast. The goal of this challenge is to make creating an intentional practice of self-love even easier than ever simply by plugging in your earbuds and listening for about 10 minutes per day. But for the full experience, you're going to want to get the scorecard so you can enter the giveaways, get the daily journal prompts sent to your inbox, and join us for the live wrap-up podcast recording. Yes, you get to join me in the studio and record the podcast together live. It is all free. Go to wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge to sign up. Again, it is completely free. You'll get a daily reminder with the free 10-minute coaching each day and your journal prompt, and you will see a transformation over these 14 days. It is not only going to impact your relationship with yourself, but as I'll teach during the challenge, it is going to impact every single other relationship you have in your life, your relationship with other people, your relationship with teaching. That energy is going to impact every single other aspect of your life. So sign up at wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge. It's free. Now let's get to the episode. You are listening to episode number 96, part 2 of Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast, coaching certification, what every teacher and homeschool parent should know before this school year. Now, I'm talking in this 2-part segment, I've been talking about my coaching certification process, what I learned from it, why I felt like it was worth it, spoiler from part 1, but you should go back and listen if you missed it. And now I'm sharing what I want everybody else in this community to take from what I've learned that I want to share with you. And I'm sharing a lot of that here today on the podcast. Welcome to Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast. I'm Kelsey Sorensen, a former elementary teacher and current homeschool mom. And even though I've been a resource creator since 2014, I've realized that printables alone aren't all you need in order to thrive as a teacher or homeschool parent. That's why I also created this show and got certified as a life coach to help you finally kick burnout to the curb and feel confident with whatever challenges come your way. With the right mindset strategies and new teaching inspiration, you're going to be well on your way to your best teacher life. Now let's go. Okay, welcome back for part 2. And if you missed part 1, I shared really behind the scenes of my coaching certification, the curriculum, what I learned about myself, and kind of a segue into today's episode, which is the transformation that we've seen in some members, but also what I want to see, what I believe every teacher or homeschool parent should have the opportunity to learn and apply. And I would love for as many as possible to even learn that before this coming school year, which is why we have a free 3-day teacher transformation, completely free because I want all of you to learn about this. So I'll be sharing more information about that too. But if you're listening here and you missed part 1, you can either hop over to part 1 and then listen to part 2 over here, or if you want to listen to this, you can then hop back over to the last one for more context. Totally up to you. Okay, so today I'm going to start with sharing what I believe every teacher and homeschool parent should have the opportunity to learn before next school year. And really to sum it all up, what I really want you all to learn is the self-coaching model that I use with my clients, with my members in Wife Teacher Mommy Club, and that I taught at Educate and Rejuvenate as well. And I've even mentioned it on the podcast before too, but I really would love for you to get an even deeper understanding than what I'm able to share on a podcast. I want to be able to share more examples. I want to be able to answer your questions in the chat. I want to be able to bring some people on so you can see coaching in action. So that is what we're doing at our free 3-day teacher transformation. Go to wifeteachermommy.com/transformation to sign up if you're listening before the end of July of 2023. We also plan to do more of these events too. Some will be paid. I want to offer, and I'll talk about this later in the episode too. So we'll get to that. But the model is what we call the self-coaching model, or the CTFAR model. Now, what that is each of those letters stands for one of the 5 components of the model. And the gist of the model is that everything falls into one of these 5 categories. It's either a circumstance, a thought, a feeling, an action, or a result. Now, the circumstance are like the neutral things in our lives. It just is. It can't be changed. We can't change it. We have no control over it. And there's no story behind it. Like, everybody would agree on what it is. A thought is the meaning we put behind any given circumstance. And it has story, it has opinion behind it. And not everyone would necessarily agree on it. And a lot of times we think our thoughts are circumstances, but they're not. They are thoughts. So this is where dividing those up is one of the big key parts of coaching. And I'm going to be teaching you a lot about that at the 3-Day Teacher Transformation. The next part of the model is the feelings. And what are the feelings caused by? They are caused by our thoughts, not by the circumstances. So we might say something like, I'm so mad that I forgot this, or something. But the thing is, you're not so mad that you forgot about something or whatever. You're mad about what the meaning you're putting behind it. Like, if you forgot about it, like, I'm so dumb or something, or, oh no, she's probably mad at me or something. There's something in between there that is causing you to feel that way. It is not the circumstance itself. Another thing you might say if you're a teacher, like, I'm so sad that I'm not going to have this class anymore. Let's say you had a class that you really liked. Now, you are not sad because you're not going to have that class anymore. Like, the fact that that class, they're moving on from 3rd grade to 4th grade or whatever, that is a circumstance. What is in between there is that you're thinking, like, I'm going to miss them, or I loved that class, or I'm worried that next year's class won't be as good, or something. There's something in between there that you're thinking that is causing you to feel sad, or whatever it is that you're feeling about that situation. Okay, so that is kind of an example of dividing those circumstances and thoughts, and how it's the thoughts that drive our feelings. Then when we feel a certain way, it's the actions and the A line. It's our actions that are what we do, and also what we don't do, specifically when we're feeling a certain way, because we're thinking a certain thing about a circumstance. So it's really kind of like a ladder here, like they all build upon each other. And then our results happen because of the things that we either do or don't do. They cause our results. So we're really going to be diving into this more at our 3-Day Teacher Transformation. And then we spend even more time diving into it inside Wife Teacher Mommy Club. It is like the basis of our coaching. But I want everyone to have this, at least a basic understanding of the model, which is why I'm sharing it here on the podcast. Spent a little time overviewing it here. And then I want to give you all the opportunity to come and join me and really dive into it for 3 days. It's going to be a great time, and you get a free resource just for signing up, and then one more for showing up each day. And we're having fun giveaway prizes. Like, we really want you to learn this. It's going to be such a great time. And Chrissy and I are co-teaching for the first time. In the club, it's usually me or Chrissy teaching, and we are co-teaching this thing. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. And we are going to not only like go over the model again, like I did here, we're going to give some more detailed examples. We're going to have people in the comments like tell us, like, have you tried to see if you can identify each part? We're going to have people come on and get coached. We're going to have people give their own examples. We're going to answer your questions. It's going to be much more interactive than when you listen to this podcast. And this podcast is a great tool, continuing to release episodes every week. So continue listening to it. It's a great component. But we'd love for you to also join us at this event. And then inside the club, we dive into this model even more, and we teach additional tools such as processing emotions, buffering, goal setting, time management, so many things. And like part 1 of this episode, I was talking all about my certification and what I learned and how it was that large $21,000 investment that we divided into payments. And I did kind of talk about how, like, you know, if you go back to school and get a degree, like, that's going to cost just as much, if not more, right? So anyways, it is a big investment, but you don't necessarily need to go back to school to dive deep into this work. You don't need to invest tens of thousands of dollars. You certainly can if you want a career change or something. However, it is not necessary at all to do this work. What is necessary is to just learn the tools and set aside the time to reflect and to do them and to implement them yourself, and to like look at your mind, to do those thought downloads, to look at what's going on in your mind, showing up to coaching calls, listening to this podcast as part of it. Because even on this podcast, I've been sharing about the bottle. Now, I won't lie, it does take some time and application to get the biggest transformation out of these tools. Now, I won't lie, it does take some time and application to get the biggest transformation out of this. Not just passively listening to the podcast. I think that is great. And that's one thing to do. That's one tool in your toolbox. But what I would like you to do next is like think about what you listen to in this podcast. Get out a piece of paper. Try to write down what was that model, CTFAR, circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result. Try to fill one out. You might need some support and come join us at the 3-day teacher transformation for that. But when you try to really dive in and do this work, which is, again, it's internal. This is internal work. We're here to support and help give you the tools, but this is internal work. It's, really what you can do. It's all in you. And that might feel overwhelming if you think like that, oh, this is too much, or I don't have time or something. You're so powerful that you have the capacity and the ability to do this, that it is all right there in you. And you just need the tools to help unlock it. Like, isn't that incredible? So I just think it's so cool. Now it's just finding that time for reflection. The big part is just making the time and the mental capacity and space to do it. Now, the certification for me, it did lead to some extra accountability and investment in doing it. So I got so much out of it because there was so much great content, but also it is the most time I had ever put into doing this work. Yes, I'd had, one-on-one sessions with my coach. I'd been in the group programs, but I had not gone as all in as I did with this certification. Now, you could go all in on it, whether or not you're doing the certification. You could, for example, join Wife Teacher Mommy Club and watch every single replay and watch all the videos and, go to Ask a Coach every day if you wanted to and ask another question and put in your own models and get really good at observing your brain and all the things. You have it all right there with you. We are here to support you, like just finding some way to get that support and kind of nudges in the right direction. But it really is all in you. You are so powerful. I truly believe that. Now, for me, that investment did lead to kind of an external circumstance that I did think things like I need to get my money's worth out of this, right? And for some people, they feel like Wife Teacher Mommy Club is that. They think, ooh, that monthly payment or that quarterly or annual payment, that's like, I'm on a teacher budget. That's a lot. I will say it's the cheapest coaching that I know of at this time, but I totally understand. Like, it is money. You might need to fit it into your budget. You might need to talk to your husband about it, is what a lot of people were saying on the live. But I wouldn't use that as a reason not to, if this is something you really want. Because for me, like I mentioned in part 1 of this episode, thinking that I didn't have the time or I didn't have the money was preventing me from becoming my best self. Those thoughts were getting in my way. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily getting in your way, like, because I don't know you. I'm just recording this podcast, but think about it, if they might be getting in your way, if they might be preventing you from becoming the best version of yourself as somebody who takes care of themselves, as somebody who is there for their students and their family because they're able to fill themselves up. Just kind of, those are things to think about. And the other reason I believe that you don't necessarily need to do a full certification in order to really dive into these tools is that part of what I was doing is learning how to teach and apply these tools to be certified in them, to, use it for my business. I'm a business owner, so I needed that. And I wanted to be able to teach them to other people, but you are teachers, right? And I am a certified coach, and my team and I, we are working on some resources. They are on the plans right now because they were requested during Educate and Rejuvenate. They're like, do you have things for us to teach these to our kids or to our students? And the answer is we are working on that. So you will be able to, first, I really believe that first you need to come in. And so I believe the timing is perfect because, we have a lot of new people coming in, learning these tools, learning to apply them yourselves. And then once you learn it yourself, you can do that in your current role of teaching in your classroom or your own kids or both. And just imagine if you would have learned these tools as a child, instead of having to learn them as an adult when we've already had so many negative thinking patterns. Imagine if we could have had this work earlier in our lives. And that is part of my vision for this coaching inside Wife Teacher Mommy. I want to make it more accessible for teachers, money-wise and time-wise. That's why, as of right now, as far as I know, we have the cheapest group coaching program of anybody that I currently know of. I could be wrong, but I've looked into a lot of coaching programs with coaches who have certified by the Life Coach School. Cheapest one I know of. And it includes the teaching resources too. We even had one member say that she spent $1,000 on Teachers Pay Teachers and she didn't get any coaching with it. And the club is less than $1,000, much less. So just we're trying to pack so much value in there. Plus, you get the VIP access to our events, which again, even just Educate and Rejuvenate with the Platinum is over $100. And then all the events throughout the year. We're just trying to make it more accessible to get all of the stuff without having to buy everything, pay for it all individually. So we're trying to make it more accessible for teachers. And then time-wise, we're trying to make sure we have a coaching call at least once a week, because before it was just a couple times a month, but now we're trying to make sure at least once a week. Sometimes this summer we've had twice. And I would love to get it to where we have more coaches and can vary the times a day more for those of you who aren't in different time zones, and just making it accessible so that if you're like, oh, I am really stressed out today, what coaching call is on the calendar today? And you could potentially come to it. Now, obviously, it's not like, oh, we want to have like 4 calls a week or whatever. We're not expecting you to come to every single one. It's just like, if you're a member of a gym, we wouldn't expect you to go to every single gym class. In fact, if you went to that, I actually think that would be a really dumb idea. You'd be really sore. But it's just so you have the option, so that as we get more of you in here, and then that means we have more budget to get more coaches in here and coaching you. It could be just a really great way for us to meet more needs. And then there could be more topics on the calendar, like, okay, these are the calls I need this month. And you'll be able to watch them, attend them live, or listen to them on the members only podcast. And that is kind of my vision for it, to really grow this program, to have so much support, just even more support. Like as we grow the number of people, I want along with it to grow the number of people who are here to support you as well. So that is my vision for the coaching Inside Wife Teacher Mommy. And I want to continue to do the several events a year. And as part of making it accessible, like I mentioned, I want to have at least one thing per year that is free, because I mentioned I want every teacher to have access to this work. And right now, that is our 3-day teacher transformation that is happening at the end of July on the 26th through 28th. You can come, you can learn, even if you never join the club, even if you never listen to another podcast episode again, but you attend that 3-day teacher transformation, you will have a deeper understanding of the model. And if you continue to just take what you learned, take that printable that you're going to get at that free event and use it and apply it and do those thought downloads and create those models, you are going to see such a transformation in your life. Again, it's all in you. So you can come learn the tools. And it's also a great way to see if the club is something you want for continued support. Because the other thing I love about the club and my vision for continuing to grow this in the club is that we have this incredible community of educators who are invested in this work. Now, Chrissy and I and any other coaches we bring on in the future are here to support you and hold that clean space, like I mentioned, kind of like that clean slate. So when you bring things, we're not going to like instantly agree with you per se. We're going to help you kind of see like, oh, wait, is that a thought or a circumstance? We're really going to be there to coach you. But then also there is so much support in the chat from fellow members. Every time we coach somebody and you just see the chat and people supporting themselves, it is just magical. People supporting each other. And inside the Facebook group, that's another community and way people can be there and support each other. So that is my vision for what this coaching is going to continue to look like, and just help even more educators to do this work. And I'm also really excited that I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book right now, actually. I signed a book deal with Teacher Goals Publishing, and I'm just so grateful for them for giving me this opportunity. And that's another way that I hope to get this work into the hands of so many more teachers. So when that book comes out, we're also going to be breaking down these tools. And that is like a one-time purchase of that book that is really could kind of be a guidebook for you, and specifically geared towards those who are teaching, and help you to be able to utilize these tools day in and day out. So really excited for that. That'll be coming out in 2024. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the legacy that we leave when we do this work. Now, we do it for ourselves first, I should mention, because we matter. I think a lot of times we're like, oh, I'll do this because it's going to help other people. But remember, we matter too. We are that, like Christina said at our Educate and Rejuvenate during her keynote, we are that little girl or little boy or whatever. If you think, like, grab a picture of yourself in kindergarten. I did this. I put it on my vision board. I have my picture with my little side ponytail and the total 90s bow in my hair and smiling. And whenever I want to tell myself like, oh no, you got to put other people before them, look at that picture or whatever and be like, oh yeah, I matter too. I'm still that little girl. So we do this for ourselves because we deserve to enjoy our lives, enjoy the people around us, enjoy our jobs. I mean, at least I believe that's a thought I have. I believe that we deserve this, but like, We matter. We can do this work for ourselves, but also it trickles down. Okay, so I posted in a Facebook group, super overwhelmed, when I was in my major anxiety that led me to this. You could listen to the episode called Why My Panic Attack Was the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me. I shared the full story there, but I posted in a Facebook group about how overwhelmed I was with just everything. And another life coach, certified life coach, commented and recommended Lizzie Langston, who was my first life coach. She's been on the podcast. And if you were at Educate and Rejuvenate, she did the yoga and meditation. She's also a yoga instructor. She's great. She recommended that I talk to her, that I book a consult, and I did. And then, like I mentioned, I ended up and I think it was on part 1 of this episode, I worked with her for a year and a half. And it was such a game-changing experience for me. And the fact that she was my first coach, that I started looking into other programs, then I decided to add coaching to my membership. And then I hired Chrissy to come in, and then we did it at all these events. And now we're bringing it to coaching. And all of these people are now learning these tools just because Lizzie taught it to me. Me and Chrissy, now that I reached out to Chrissy because we are teaching it to all of you, a lot of you. And then you is trickling down in your lives to each of the people who you are impacting, your students, your families, your friends. So it is just this huge legacy that we leave when we learn this work, when we apply it, and it benefits our relationships. It benefits everything. And we are teachers. We know how to take a concept and break it down, simplify it enough to share it for even the youngest of mine. So we can share with little kids about like thoughts versus circumstances, or, feelings, processing them. They're much more open to that when they're children. When you try to do that with an adult, sometimes they're like, ooh, this is like woo-woo or weird. It's, we've been conditioned in these ways, but if we could teach kids from the time they are young about this stuff, it would just be a game changer. And can you just imagine if learning as a kid, all that we're basically relearning now, if we can make a difference in even one person, it's worth it. But it's so much more, because usually it ends up being much more than one person when we learn and apply and do this work. Which is why, again, I would love to invite you to join me at our 3-day teacher transformation. It is happening next week on July 26th, 27th, and 28th. 2023 as of when this is going live. If you're listening later, though, be sure to head over to our events calendar. We love to have a lot of different things coming up. So you can just go to wifeteachermama.com and click on events, and you'll see what's coming up next. But for those who are listening in time for this, at this 3-day teacher transformation, we are breaking it down each day. On day 1, we are teaching you much more in depth all about circumstances versus thoughts. We're really diving into that. Circumstances, thoughts, and getting into the feelings, then kind of breaking down the model a little bit there. On day 2, there's going to be a full open coaching session where Chrissy and I will take turns coaching people who are there. So you could potentially be one of those. If you want to be coached, this is a great opportunity. And then day 3, Chrissy actually won't be able to be there for day 3. So day 3 is just me. I will be teaching you how to take what you've learned and continue to coach yourself. So you have the tools, you have the power, and you are able to go on and do this work. And then and you can do that whether or not you decide to join us in the club. So it is such a great opportunity. It is free. And when you sign up, you will get our August Teacher Essentials bundle, which is adorable. It has like newsletter templates and like classroom library lists and all kinds of just essential organizational things that you need to get started with your school year. And then each day, if you show up and you watch, you will get access to another resource. And that even includes the limited replay. Everybody who signs up for free will have access through the 31st. So you'll have like a few more days to watch it if you're just like, oh, I have an appointment at that time or whatever. And we'll share in the video how you can grab that resource if you're watching on the replay. But if you show up live, we're also giving away a prize on each day to someone who is on the live. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the resources are each day or what the prizes are. But if you go to wifeteachermama.com/transformation, it will take you right to the page where you can learn all about it, get signed up. You can also sign up for text messages. That's optional. Like you'll need to give us your email to sign up, but you can sign up for text messages. I would really recommend that because then you can get a text reminder before it starts each time so you don't forget. So I would really recommend that. We really try not to like bombard you with text messages or anything. Usually it's only very few like urgent, time sensitive things. And occasionally we'll send like a podcast episode that we're like, okay, people are really liking this one. Let's send this to like the people who are on our text list so they can, listen to it. So if you are here, you're listening, you're at the very end of this episode, you probably wouldn't mind that, right? Just getting a reminder about, ooh, yeah, I should listen to that episode. So I would recommend signing up for the text messages too. And I really hope to see you next week. It'll be a lot of fun. Or I hope to see those of you who are in the club on our club calls too, and whatever the next event is, if you're listening to this later. And again, as always, I will be here for you on the podcast next week. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step and work with me and take everything you learn on this podcast to the 10x level, I'd love for you to join me inside Wife Teacher Mommy Club. You'll get access to a library of 1,000+ resources that will help you take back your time. The resources alone easily pay off your club membership. Plus, if you join us on the quarterly plan or above, you'll get our luxury leather-bound teacher planner, a $50 value shipped to your door for free. But in my humble opinion, the most important part of the club is the opportunity to get coached on whatever comes your way, that you can thrive in teaching and life. You'll get to join weekly coaching calls with me and fellow club coaches to not only listen and consume this content, but really apply it to your life. This is where the magic happens. The doors are closed the majority of the year, but you can request a personalized invitation as a podcast listener. Simply go to wifeteachermommy.com/podcast invite to learn more. You can also find the link in the show notes. I hope to see you face to face on Zoom soon inside Wife Teacher Mommy Club.